This is JennX Talks, part TED style truth drop, part JennX grit, all voice. If you built something brilliant, but your body, your bandwidth, and your clarity is starting to flag, you're in the right place. This episode's a bourbon style pour of truth, that kind you slip slowly because the burn is worth it. So let's get into it. Welcome to episode 6. What got you here will burn you out if you're not careful. Here's the thing about high-functioning founders. What got you here was never sustainable. It was survival, scrappiness, overgiving, precision masked as perfectionism, adaptability dressed up as hustle. You had to be all the things. Early on, the business demanded it. But here's the catch. Most founders don't realize that the tools they built with, that sharp toolkit of grit, resourcefulness, and I'll just figure it all out myself, aren't the same tools that are going to carry them into what's next. And worse, they double down on them until the friction becomes unbearable. That friction might sound something like, I'm doing everything right, but it just doesn't land anymore. Or, I've scaled, but I feel smaller. Or maybe, I can't tell if this is burnout or if I just don't give a shit anymore. Any of that sound familiar? It's not a lack of ambition. That's your internal bandwidth screaming for recalibration. Let me say it clearly. If your business still runs on the system of survival, it will never give you a life of peace. And too many founders are trying to outrun that math. So grab your journal or hit record on a voice note because I'm going to offer you some questions. And if you want to pause here and reflect on these later, that's great too. I want you to ask yourself, what am I still doing because I had to back then? Not because it actually works now. Where in my business am I compensating with effort instead of alignment? I want you to imagine a founder named Erin. Smart, visionary, relentless. She built a 7-figure brand on grit and Google Sheets. And every move she made was sharp. But it was also solo. She was the bottleneck, not because she wanted more control, but because she'd trained herself to be the one who figures it all out. Now, fast forward to success. And Erin's now drowning in strategy that no longer fits. Her team's waiting for decisions that she doesn't want to make. And her voice in the market? Totally muted by her own exhaustion. And when she finally slowed down enough to see it, she realized the problem wasn't her offer, her brand, or her operations. It was that she'd outgrown her survival strategy and never updated the script. So let's talk about some core truths. Survival mode looks like a strategy until it doesn't. Survival mode is sneaky. It mimics strategy. You're making moves, you're checking boxes, you're winning externally. But the metrics you're hitting aren't the ones you actually care about anymore. And success starts to feel like an echo, not a win. This is where the burn begins. Not the burnout of beginners, the burnout of achievers. The kind that doesn't look chaotic. It looks like you're still crushing it. But inside, you're negotiating with yourself every week just to get through. So let's talk about another core truth. Overcapacity isn't strength. It's a slow collapse. You being able to handle it all doesn't mean you should. And in fact, that ability is usually a trauma response that the business fell in love with. So this is where we have to get really honest. With all the honesty in your heart, I want you to ask yourself, are you performing capability because you think that ease looks lazy? Are you chasing bigger revenue because you don't know what enough would feel like? Legacy leaders don't just build what scales. They build what sustains. That's the move. So I want you to ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I stop operating like I used to? What would it look like to lead from frequency instead of force? Here's the reframe. Everything you built up to this point was totally valid. You are not wrong for how you got here, but you can't create next level freedom with first phase tools. That requires a new operating system. A new operating system where your business doesn't require your burnout to thrive. One where your message doesn't demand performance to convert. One where your offers don't cost your life to deliver. This is what I help my private clients build. We strip away the shoulds. No more shoulding on yourself. We stop centering the brand around your past selves. And we rebuild systems that match your current capacity, desire, and leadership vision. Not what worked 3 years ago, not what made you money once, but what matches who you are now and who you're becoming. Because that's where the peace is. And ironically, that's also where the profit lives too. I'll be honest, I've built things that drained me. I've had launches that felt like a high performance trauma cycle. I've stayed in relationships with revenue streams longer than I should have because they validated my worth. And even though I hated them, they made a lot of money. Until one day I realized I wasn't leading, I was performing. And if you've ever been there, that does not make you weak. It means your clarity is catching up to your success. Honor it. So here's your clarity cut for today. What parts of your business only exist because you were surviving when you made them? And what would you burn down or rebuild if you finally believed you didn't need to earn your rest anymore? Journal it, voice note it, or forward this to a founder friend who needs to hear it. Then come back next week because we're about to talk about performative evolution and why reinventing yourself might be the next burnout trap. That one's going to hit too. You don't need more noise. You need sharper truth. So come back when you're ready to lead like it's yours again. This has been JennX Talks, where clarity cuts deeper than the chaos. We'll catch you next time for episode 7.